Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Oh my God, it honestly feels like I've been gone for so long. What did I record? I recorded Tuesday, and then Wednesday was the interview with Ethan, right? Yeah, Wednesday was Ethan, and then I didn't get a chance to record yesterday. Anyway, I am back. Man, there's so much going on. Oh my God. And I will tell you, I don't know if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, well, really Facebook stories. You know, this is funny, man. I really don't post a lot. I know I've talked about this a little bit before, but I don't post, most of the things we talk about or most of the things that I put into Instagram stories. And by the way, somebody asked me the other day, they're like, how do you do that? It's like, I always see your same stories on Instagram and Facebook. So there's a way inside of both. Instagram's easier to maneuver, but it's called cross spotting. And so because they're both owned by Meta enables you to do what's called cross spotting. And so, God, I was like really enunciating that, cross spotting. So like if you have a Facebook account and an Instagram account, which, I think most people do, you can basically link the two, and then you can set it up to where when you post your posts, your stories, or your reels, they kind of have them divided up into the three categories. You can get them to automatically post basically from Instagram to Facebook and Facebook from Instagram. I have that set up for my stories, and then I really initiate everything through Instagram. So I'll do Instagram story, and then that, for the most part, sometimes it doesn't work. I don't know. Maybe if there's like a music in my story, and maybe that song, I keep calling it that music, that song might not have the rights to play on Facebook. So it doesn't work 100% of the time, but it does work most of the time to where when I post a story on Instagram, it automatically goes to the Facebook as well. Now, I don't do that with the rest of the stuff, like the actual post or the actual reel. And I'll be very honest, man. I think Facebook is like I don't want to have big, crazy political discussions or, quite frankly, political arguments with my friends on Facebook. I'm really not interested in doing that. I'm not interested in doing that on Instagram either, but obviously, people have opinions about things, and it's totally cool. I have to say maybe 90%, no, even higher than that. I'd say like 98% of the time, I never get any real aggressive friends that come at me. I have had it a few times, not going to lie. But then I don't know, do I post aggressive stuff? I really don't think I do. I mean, I think all the things I post are thought-provoking with intention. I mean that, like I post things with intention to get you to either see a side of the story that I think is true or to think about something in a certain way or whatever. I will tell you, this is a good story. Actually, before I tell the story, let me give you the lay of the land. The lay of the land. So, obviously the Persian community, with the ongoing situation between Israel and Iran, it's kind of divided. It really is. It's like everything else. Doesn't everything divide people? It totally does. So on the Persian community side, you've got, for those that don't know, I would say probably 70 to 80% of people that are from Iran and that consider themselves, from Persian descent are probably Muslim. So like technically Muslim. I mean, like I'm technically Muslim, but I don't know anything about the Muslim religion. I really know very little. I really do. And actually that's kind of bad on me. I need to I've brought more Christian pastors and people to talk about Christianity than I have to talk about Islam. So I'll try to do that. Part of that was early on, I tried to get people to come on and they just didn't want to come on. So anyway, I will try to do that. But the majority of Iranians are probably identify as Muslim. And then you've got a significant portion that are Jewish. So you've got Persian Jewish, Persian Muslim. There definitely are some Persian Christians. And then there's another religion called Baha'i. That's like an offshoot of, I think it's kind of like a blend between Muslim or Islam and Christianity. So really you've got those as kind of the big four: Muslim, Jewish, Christian, and then Baha'i. And right now, I mean, what I'm seeing is, okay, let's take the easy one, the Persian Jewish contingency. I would say for the most part, they are pro-Israel, and then they are pro-regime change, meaning they obviously don't like the Islamic regime, which makes sense. And so they're very much advocating for Benjamin Netanyahu. They're advocating for the United States probably supporting this war and supporting Israel. Now, here's the funny thing. Most Persian Jewish people are probably liberal. Thank you, Greg Stoker. They are probably liberal and they are probably Democrats. So right now, I feel like some of them are in this catch-22 because you've got to be backing Trump right now, because Trump obviously has kind of gone rogue a little bit and kind of backed away from, quite frankly, everything that he was elected for, to be America first and not get us into any new wars and things like that. And so, these liberal Democrat Persian Jewish friends of mine, I don't call them out on anything, although I did call one out. So let me share this. I know he's not listening, so it doesn't matter, but let me share this. So I've known this guy for like 20 years. I adore him, actually. I really love this guy. Yeah, I don't know if I say I love him. I like him a lot. Yeah, I like him a lot. Let's leave it at that. And actually, this is funny. He's Persian Jewish and he's gay. And so like, man, bro like chose max difficulty on that. So he is been sending me probably for a good 6 months now. Like, he sends me all these reels. And actually, what am I saying? It's been going on basically since October 7th, because obviously he supports the Benjamin Netanyahu Israeli side. So he's been sending me all these reels. I literally until yesterday, I never reply to any of them. I mean, I do watch them. I kind of, whatever, laugh. And there have been many times I've been very tempted, not even to be snarky, but just to reply back as to why I don't agree with that, or why I don't, whatever. And so this has been going on really since October 7th, 2023. Actually, not that far, but basically probably ever since I started maybe posting things that would make somebody believe that, I'm on the side of humanity. So pretty much starting like on Saturday or maybe Sunday, maybe even Monday. Anyway, past few days, bro has been lighting me up with these reels, and like he forwards the reels in DM, and they're all reels that are basically, they're made by pro-Israeli accounts, and they're very critical of, the Muslim religion and all this. And I'm like, dude, why are you sending me these? I don't care. I'm not a practicing Muslim. So like, you're beating down the wrong door. And so yesterday, you know how sometimes somebody catches you in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong mindset? Well, he kind of caught me like that. And I'm going to read to you. He fired off like 6 reels in a row, and I watched all of them, and they were all just such propaganda, and like literally from all just goofy accounts. It's like wehatemuslims.com. I'm like, dude, why are you sending me these? I don't care. But for some reason yesterday, I was like, you know what? I've kind of had enough. And let me count. After sending me 36 reels and I never reply, don't you think maybe I'm not wanting to engage in that? So yesterday, I finally wrote him. I said, you know what, so-and-so, I would love the regime to go, but not by Netanyahu. He's a cancer on the world. He will destroy Iran and kill people just like he did in Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan, Syria, and what he's been doing in Gaza for the past 2 years. Have you not seen what has happened in Gaza? Are you okay with killing innocent women and children, so and so? I want Iran free, but not by him. I do appreciate you sending me these, and I do look at them, and I have not replied out of respect to our friendship, but that's where I stand. So, like, he read that, he didn't reply, and so I wrote him a little later. Let's see how much later, maybe like an hour later. I said, by the way, you know how much I value our friendship, and I'm always willing to have a conversation about this via the phone if you like. I think you know me pretty well. I stand on the side of humanity pretty much on everything. I have many Jewish friends that I love, including yourself, and I have nothing against the country. My issue, quite frankly and simply, is Netanyahu and his right-wing extremist Likud party and the psychos that he surrounds himself with, like Ben Gvir and Smotrich. I don't understand how you or anyone that claims to hate Trump so much, but you support Netanyahu and his right-wing extremists. And then in regards to Trump, do you like him now? Where do you net out on him now when for 4 years you called him Hitler literally on your social media posts? So that's what I sent him. And guess what? No reply. So you know what? I don't know. Was I harsh? Was I a little too much on that? I don't really think so. I mean, maybe there were a couple things I could have taken out, but I'll tell you right now, I could have been like a billion times more hardcore. But I thought I was very respectful. And I said, hey, I'm more than willing to have this conversation with you on the phone and blah, blah, blah. And bro has not hit me back yet. Now let's see if he does. Or actually, if he doesn't, that's totally fine. Here's how you gauge where things are. So if he doesn't reply, that's one option. No problem. If he doesn't reply and then later I'll check and see if he has unfriended me or unfollowed me or removed our connection on Instagram, then I know that friendship's probably over. And that's fine too. And then the third option would be and for some reason, I think this is what he's going to pick. I don't think he's ever going to address what I just wrote him. And then probably like in a few days, he's going to like light me up with like 26 more reels that are exactly like the previous 36 that I never replied to. So if that happens, I'm just going to laugh. I'm actually going to send him a laughing emoji and be like, okay, let's pick it up. Let's pick it up where we left off. You send reels, I don't reply. I guess that'll be the nature of our friendship. All right. So anyway, so the Persian Jewish community, again, I would say for the most part, and you can test this, by the way, if you have any Persian Jewish friends, ask them where they net out on the situation. I guarantee you 99% of them, if not all of them, will say they support Israel, but then they'll also say they want regime change. But the thing about that is a incredibly naive point of view. And it's similar to, I don't know if I talked about this on Tuesday or not, but, I think that's what we all want. Well, not the supporting of Israel part, but the regime change part. But at what cost? Again, that's what this comes down to. At what cost? What cost are you willing to pay in order for the country to have a new regime? Are you willing to let Tehran look like Gaza, which is just absolutely flattened? 35 out of 36 hospitals are destroyed. Elementary schools are destroyed. The infrastructure is destroyed. It's going to take a decade to maybe 20 years for that place to come back. If it ever comes back, who the heck knows? But anyway, again, that's the question. What are you willing to, I guess, do in order to get that? How many people are you willing to let die? Because it is very unrealistic to think that regime change can happen without a major price to pay from the civilian death toll standpoint, and then also just from, destruction of the infrastructure of Tehran and maybe other cities in Iran. I want to talk about a few things. Man, I was going to play you guys a ton of clips today, but I don't know. Maybe this is more important. I want to talk about a few things. One is this has absolutely nothing to do with Iran getting nuclear weapons. Actually, I am going to play you guys some clips. This has nothing to do with Iran getting nuclear weapons and the fact that Iran was, according to Netanyahu, weeks away from getting a nuclear weapon. Let me show you Benjamin Netanyahu's definition of weeks away. And so here's a clip I put out on Instagram. I'm talking in it because I have to read you the years, but basically what you'll see is he's been pretty much saying the same thing since 1996. All right, so here's the clip. So this is Ray D and Benjamin Netanyahu on the Deep Shallow Dive. According to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Iran has been weeks away from a nuclear weapon starting in 1996.
The most dangerous of these regimes is Iran. I believe that only the United States can lead this vital international effort to stop the nuclearization of terrorist states. But the deadline for attaining this goal is getting extremely close. Time is running out.
And then again in 2002.
This is not a hypothesis. It is fact. Iraq, Iran, and Libya are racing to develop nuclear weapons.
From 2002 to 2012, I think he was too busy with Iraq and Afghanistan, so there was a break, but he picked it up again in 2012.
It's only a few months, possibly a few weeks, before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb.
Next was 2015.
In a few years' time, Iran is guaranteed to have as many as 100 nuclear bombs.
2018.
This deal right now, assuming Iran just complies with it, they'll go the distance and have, within a few years, precisely as President Trump said yesterday, they'll have the wherewithal to produce 100 bombs, nuclear bombs.
2019.
Today, the IAEA reports that Iran is accelerating its nuclear program.
2020.
Iran will have enough enriched uranium in a few months for 2 nuclear bombs.
And here we are in 2025.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year.
So basically, Iran has been weeks away from a nuclear weapon starting in 1996. All right, so there was that clip. By the way, I sped up my voice to 1.2. Obviously, I don't really talk that fast, although I wouldn't mind talking that fast. I feel like that's what Candace Owens does. Like her regular speed is like my 1.2 speed. But yeah, I sped up my voice just to speed up the clip. Actually, you know what? I don't know if you guys find this stuff interesting when I give you the little nuggies of what I do in order to create this content. So one of the things I always try to do is keep things to almost exactly 1 minute or 2 minutes, or at the most 3 minutes. Now, a 3-minute clip is kind of long. And the reason I do that is because the Instagram and Facebook story length per slide is 60 seconds. So basically each slide in a Instagram or Facebook story is a maximum of 60 seconds. So that's why I always try to, if I can keep the entire clip to one 60-second clip, that's amazing. Sometimes you can't tell the story that quickly. So therefore, it's going to be a 2-minute clip or potentially 3 minutes at the max. I really don't like to go much longer than that because I also don't think that people have the attention span to maybe pay attention to the same clip for 3 minutes. I don't know. Maybe they do. I can tell you for 1 minute, absolutely. And then even for 2 minutes, I think if it's a continuous story, I think that's okay. I think once you get longer than that in one message, some people might skip forward or maybe even tune out. But anyway, so sometimes when, let's say it's at I think that one ended up being 2 minutes and 12 seconds at regular speed. And so I sped it up to 1.2 and it cut off 11 seconds or 12 seconds. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. It got right down to 2 minutes. Perfect. So anyway, okay. All right. So obviously you could hear from that clip, Netanyahu, the dude is a broken record. He's just been saying the same thing over and over again to try and kind of get what he wants. Now, again, if I'm him or if I'm Team Netanyahu, I'm not mad at you for doing that. That's a great strategy. And like I said, the dude is good. He's so good. Oh my God. It's really Like if I ever met him, gosh, I don't know what I'd do if I ever met him. But I will say I might actually compliment him on being, first of all, like just a disgusting human being. But then secondly, be like, hey, you know what? You're a disgusting human being, but honestly, you're very good at it. You're really good at it. So I do want to compliment you on it. Okay, so that's Netanyahu. That's proof number one that the nuclear conversation with Iran is not something that just fell out of the sky, therefore causing Israel to, basically conduct this preemptive attack that it launched on Thursday. So if you don't want to believe BB that this has been going on a long time, here's another stalwart of humanity. Let's listen to this beacon of light. And this is from 2008, and it gets zesty right out the gate.
And I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran.
Bruh.
Whatever stage of development they might be in their nuclear weapons program in the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them. That's a terrible thing to say, but those people who run Iran need to understand that, because that perhaps will deter them from doing something that would be reckless, foolish, and tragic.
All righty, that was the one and only Hillary Clinton, and yeah, that was not a nice thing to say. Obliterate them. Wow, that's a pretty bold word. That's a pretty harsh word. Obliterate. Anyway, my point is that what is going on with the guise of this being about Iran can't have nuclear weapons, this is just it's cover, basically. It's cover for really the regime change that they want to have happen. Now, here is where the second half of the Iranian community, let's say the Persian Iranian community, might be mixed. So you've got, I think everybody, well, not everybody, but I would say most people are advocating for regime change. We'd love to have regime change. We'd love to have a real democracy back in there. We'd love for the people basically to be able to live a democratic, whatever that word means these days, but to be able to live a free life. Let's just say free, similar to here in the United States, similar to Canada, similar to Mexico, similar to France, similar to Italy, similar to Germany, similar to England. You know what I mean? Like that kind of life. Whatever. I don't even know if I can call those democracies anymore, but freedom. Let's say you have freedom. So I think everybody's on the same page with that. Again, right now you've got two groups that are basically, they're wanting that, but they're not willing to have the conversation of what are you willing to let happen? Are you willing to let your family members potentially die? If you have a home or real estate in Tehran still or in Iran, are you willing for that to be destroyed in order to get it? You know what I mean? These are the questions they don't really want to talk about and they don't really want to answer. And those are the ones I call them out on. I have had these discussions with some family members and I said, hey, it's very simple. What are you willing to lose? And if you are willing to lose that, then absolutely, I respect your opinion. Maybe I don't agree with it depending on how high the stakes are of what you're willing to lose. But you know what? If that's what you're willing to do, then I absolutely agree with it. So anyway, all right, that is the Iran discussion. The other thing that I do want to talk about, because I feel like I have to, is Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz from the great state of Texas, went on Tucker Carlson, or actually Tucker Carlson went to his office. And if you have not seen this or seen clips of it, you're really missing out, because it was probably the biggest train wreck of a podcast experience that has ever happened. Even worse than the guy Douglas Murray who went on Joe Rogan and debated that Dave Smith guy. I don't think I played any real clips from that, but if you are sort of up on the social media game, you'll know what I'm talking about. But this one was worse, man. Ted Cruz came off so bad on so many different points. Let me play a couple for you that just absolutely crushed him. Here's my favorite, and this is a short clip where basically Ted Cruz admits that the United States is the one that is pretty much fighting the war against Iran, obviously through Israel as the proxy, or like, we're the ventriloquist and they're on our hand. But listen to this. It's pretty dang funny. And I inserted a funny part in it too. And by the way, this is my clip again. Unfortunately, the pieces of this clip that I used, well, the piece of Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz, and then obviously I inserted my own video in it. I threw that original file away, or I trashed the original file. So you are going to be stuck with hearing basically my clip that I posted on Instagram. And by the way, this is pretty wild. This clip that you are about to hear as of this recording between Instagram and Facebook has received 626,000 views. That's a lot of views. That's like the most I've ever received on an original Ray D creation for one clip. Take a look at this video from today's interview. Tucker Carlson completely exposes Ted Cruz.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not even. You don't know anything about Iran.
And Ted Cruz has been one of the big Republican war hawks and warmongers.
So, okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who claims
anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the one who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
They're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that,
we're carrying out military strikes today.
All right, I know the conversation is moving fast, but Ted Cruz just said, we are carrying military strikes today. We are carrying military strikes. And because he said we...
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here, because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting
Israel.
Israel.
High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay.
Oh my God, I have so much more to cover. What should I do? Should I keep going? I'm at 27 minutes. What do you guys want? This is why maybe I need to transfer to a live podcast. Ray D TV, 24/7, Ray D on your TV. Would you guys like that? I'll tell you what you would hear like 50 times a day. You'd hear, Alexa, how's the weather? Oh my God, it answered me. All right, you know what? There's a couple more ridiculous Ted Cruz quotes or Ted Cruz parts of that podcast, but I'm not going to play those guys for you. I will tell you, well, if you want to see them all, they are all on the Deep Shallow Dive Instagram, the Ray Star Instagram. And by the way, man, don't sleep on the Deep Shallow Dive Facebook page. That finally, I mean, it's still kind of boomer heavy. There's definitely more boomers on the Facebook page than on Instagram, because I think there's more boomers on Facebook than Instagram. But it's over 23,000 people on that page, and it's getting zesty, man. There definitely are some haters on that page. I don't block anybody. Actually, I did block one guy because he was just psychotic. But overall, I try not to block people, and I try not to monitor too much of the conversation. First of all, I don't have time. Good Lord, it's like insane. Like this is crazy. I do want to share this. So between the 3 clips of Ted Cruz that I personally sort of commented on, and then another maybe 5 clips, like Candace Owens did a take, Tim Dillon did a take. There are a couple other people that did takes. let's say between 10 total clips of Ted Cruz's appearance on Tucker Carlson, I probably garnered over 2.5 million views from all those. That's crazy, right? That's a lot of views. It just shows you, well, more than anything, it shows you what the algorithm pushes to people, because everybody was wanting more Ted Cruz. So, all right, I'm not going to play anymore, but he did have a ridiculous take about Genesis 12:3, which is really one of the key phrases that has really been weaponized, and it kind of goes along with the discussions we've had about the Schofield Bible and some other things in that area. I am going to bring Pastor Steven Anderson and then J Slay USA. I'm bringing those guys back, and we're going to dive more into the religious stuff. And quite frankly, we're going to dive into all of the misinterpretations of ridiculously important biblical scripture that I honestly think was done on purpose and has absolutely changed the direction of this entire country. I'm not even kidding. This is going to be pretty interesting. So, okay, let's move on. I do want to play this from Tulsi Gabbard, because she also was pretty interesting over the past 3 or 4 days. First of all, she put out a video on, what was it? It was on Wednesday, or maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, and it was a little eerie, and it was also a little weird. But her video basically talked about how she visited Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the two places in Japan where the United States detonated an atomic bomb in World War II. And I'll tell you what it felt like. It felt like her giving us a warning. Like, it really did. It felt like her giving us a warning that, hey, we do not want to let atomic bombs happen. Now, initially I was like, okay, this must be kind of them trying to continue to make the case of, going to war with Iran or supporting Israel versus Iran because Iran has nuclear weapons. But I honestly don't think that. I don't think that. And I'll tell you why I don't think that. So she posted that video on either Tuesday or Wednesday. Only 45 days ago, or maybe 50 days ago, she testified in front of a joint committee in front of Congress. And remember, Tulsi Gabbard is the director of national intelligence. That is like a big job. It's kind of like the number one position in terms of making sure we know what's going on in foreign countries. And she absolutely is in touch with the CIA and the FBI, probably on a minute-by-minute basis. But the reason I don't think that video was meant for Iran or scaring us against Iran is because less than 45 days ago, this is what she testified in front of Congress to.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program.
What we informed and what we reported was that we did not have, as in coincidence with some of the sources you mentioned there, that we did not have any proof of a systematic effort to move into a nuclear weapon.
So that was Tulsi Gabbard, and then that was this guy named Rafael Moros. He's like the head of the International, let's say, Nuclear Security Commission, something like that. And so think about that. Less than 45 days ago or 50 days ago, the two top brass are basically saying, we have nothing to show that Iran has moved forward with this nuclear stuff. And then here we are 45 days later. And remember, Hillary Clinton in 2008, Benjamin Netanyahu from 1996 to 2005 to 2008 to 2012 to 2015 to 2016 to 2018 to 2020. to 2025. Like all of these times he's kind of fed us the same lie. And so we're supposed to believe that all of the sudden in 35 days, they just miraculously, after having nuclear inspections done, they miraculously were ready to, whatever, launch a nuclear weapon. It's totally insane. By the way, if you have not gotten a chance to listen to my episode with Dr. Mimi Syed, I highly recommend you do, because here is an unfortunate 22 seconds from Gayle King. While everybody is wrapped up in Iran versus Israel, this is still taking place. Here's Gayle King on CBS.
Israel, which continues to hammer Gaza with military strikes, a Palestinian hospital says at least 54 people were killed in multiple attacks on one city overnight, including, we're sorry to say, women and children. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says this bombing will not stop until Hamas, which launched the October 7th attacks, is destroyed.
That is seriously so ridiculously infuriating and sad. Okay, you know what? I just found this other Ted Cruz clip. I've got to play this for you guys. It's only like 2 minutes or so. This is too good not for you to hear, in case you have not heard it.
Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of, it says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my.
Okay, this is insane. Do you guys know where that scripture is? What passage it is? Because I literally do. It's Genesis 12:3. And I learned that from Pastor Steven Anderson, J Slay USA, Pastor Bob Thiel, even Paul Davis. Genesis 12:3. How on earth does Ted Cruz, who claims to be this, super Christian, how does he not know that?
You pull out the phone and use the Google.
It's in Genesis. But so you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it. And you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology. I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two,
hold on.
I'm not holding on.
Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But hold on, define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
So is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yet nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the descendants
God's
of
referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
And by the way, it's not run by Benjamin Netanyahu as a dictator. It's a democratic country that elected.
He's the prime minister.
Right.
What?
But just like, America is the country run by Donald Trump. No, actually, the American people elected Donald Trump. The same principle
This is silly. I'm talking about the political entity of modern Israel.
Yes, and that is
You believe
Israel.
That's what God was talking about in Genesis.
I do, but
that country's existed since when?
For thousands of years. Now, there was a time when it didn't exist, and then it was recreated just over 70 years ago.
I'm saying, I think most people understand that line in Genesis to refer to the Jewish people, God's chosen people.
That's not what it says.
Okay, Israel, but you don't even know where in the Bible it is.
Oh my God, I wanted to interrupt like 10 times, but I wanted you guys to just hear that straight through as if you were listening to the podcast. Anyway, that is so embarrassing. He also got embarrassed on, oh my God, so many other clips. The entire podcast was just humiliating for Ted Cruz. It absolutely will go down as the most embarrassing podcast of the year for sure. All right, let me see if there's anything else. I'm kind of on a roll now. All right, trust me, you guys are getting like the white glove treatment, man. You're gonna go to like cookouts and parties this week, and people are gonna be talking about this, and you're gonna know what they're talking about, and you're gonna be able to chime in. You're gonna be able to add to the conversation, and then people are like, "Dude, when did you get so politically savvy?" And then you'll just like throw up a couple deuces and be like, "DSD, baby." And they'll be like, "What in the name of fuck's sake is that?" And you'll be like, "Deep shallow dive, dude. You don't know?" All right, let me play you a quick 30-second clip from Rand Paul. This is another clip that received over, and by the way, you guys know when I share my stats, I'm not trying to flex. Well, I'm flexing a little, I'm not going to lie. But for the most part, I just want you to know like what people gravitated toward. So this 30-second clip from Rand Paul has received 550,000 views.
You've warned President Trump not to get involved in the conflict between Israel and Iran, saying, quote, a war with Iran would make Iraq look like a skirmish. How do you respond to Senator Graham's call to go all in and help Israel finish the job, Senator?
Well, his initial response was game on, and I don't consider war to be a game. The hundreds of thousands of people that potentially will now die on both sides. And it's not the U.S.'s job to be involved in this war. Iraq was a mess. Afghanistan was a mess.
Iraq was a mess. Afghanistan was a mess. Man, we've talked about all this stuff. That's pretty cool, man. That seriously is pretty cool. All right, let me see anything else. Oh, I've got to play this clip from you guys for you guys. This is comedian Tim Dillon. Again, this one, 672,000 views, or I guess listens. But listen to the way Tim Dillon breaks this down. I actually love the way he did this. I thought this was such an intelligent clip overall in so many ways. Give this a listen.
Did Iran attack the United States of America? Is Iran the reason that no one can afford a house? Is Iran the reason that there's fentanyl everywhere? Is Iran the reason that we've got political corruption? Is Iran the reason that we have 12 people that own everything in this country? Is Iran the reason that we have an epidemic of poison food that's killing people and children? And when your insurance won't cover a knee operation and you have to go bankrupt to replace your hip, is your main concern that Iran be decapitated? This is the craziest I've ever heard in my life. We've been using Iran. Iran has been like, we've been using Iran in this country forever. Everything is Iran.
I thought that was so good. I really did. I mean, the ancillary message of using Iran as a scapegoat, the boogeyman, the big bad wolf. You guys know what I think about all that stuff. The big bad wolf, the boogeyman, they are there to feed that military industrial machine monster. So anyway, I thought that was a great clip from Tim Dillon. Thanks, Tim. Nice one. All right, let me see anything else. All right, you know what? Let's hear the other side of things, and let's hear from one of the biggest tards in the game, Lindsey Graham.
The worst possible outcome for the world is for the Iranian nuclear program to survive after all this. If diplomacy is not successful and we live with the option of force, I would urge President Trump to go all in to make sure that when this operation is over, there's nothing left standing in Iran regarding their nuclear program. If that means providing bombs, provide bombs. If that means
busting bombs?
Whatever bombs. If it means flying with Israel, fly with Israel. Mm-hmm. That will be a disaster.
He just hops from one war to the next like a gay frog on a lily pad.
That guy said he just hops from one war to the next like a gay frog on a lily pad. And I think Lindsey Graham is G-A-Y. I don't have confirmation on that. That's for entertainment purposes only. All right, let me see what else. Oh man, I guess I have to play this guy since I played my number 2 biggest villain. Let me play the number 1 biggest villain. And mainly I want to play this to point out narratives. I'm going to start pointing out all the narratives that I'm seeing. So this narrative is that they're after President Trump and they're after, well, I'll just say the narrative is that they're after President Trump.
And the one obstacle they've had so far is the state of Israel, because we're the ones fighting Iranians. And the other obstacle they have is President Trump. And I think, I'll tell you, they think that President Trump is an enormous obstacle. They think that Israel is a very big obstacle. And they're out to get us both. In fact, they tried to kill me too. They fired a missile into my bedroom window. They missed.
So that was Netanyahu on Brett Baer, one of the Fox tards. And basically, so the narrative he's trying to make is that Iran is trying to kill President Trump and that they're trying to kill, obviously, Israel. And then they're trying to kill him, Netanyahu, as well. So he said, they fired a missile in my bedroom, but they missed. I was like, bro, how big is your bedroom, man? If they're firing a missile into your bedroom and they're missing, you must have a huge bedroom. Or like, how big was the missile? Was it like shot out of one of those like toy guns? That doesn't make any sense. A missile going through a window of a bedroom seems like it would do the damage. Anyway, he's such a liar. He's such a ridiculous liar. It's just crazy. But that's the narrative that he's pushing, that they are trying to assassinate President Trump. So that's why you got to be on the lookout, man. It's like, it's false flag season. It's false flag season. And I will. Oh, did I ever do my false flag episode? I don't think I did. Now that I think about it. Okay, I promise I will go through a bunch of false flags next week. Okay, let me see anything else. I know you guys are loving this. You're like practically totally up to speed. If you had your head in the sand all week, you're pretty much all set. You're going to crush it at the cookout. All right, last clip. We will leave you with an interview. I believe I've played this before, but it's worth listening to again. This is the based version of President Trump in 2005, and I want you to pay attention to what he says. I also want you guys to have a great weekend. I also want you to call a spade, and I also want you to call your parents.
But you also recently said that the Middle East would be better off with Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, and Assad in power. How does...
I didn't say Assad, but we certainly have not gained anything with Gaddafi. And you look at what happened. I mean, look at Libya. Look at Iraq. Iraq used to be no terrorists. He would kill the terrorists immediately. It was like, now it's the Harvard of terrorism. Iraq. If you look at Iraq from years ago, I'm not saying he was a nice guy. He was a horrible guy. But it was a lot better than it is right now. Right now, Iraq is a training ground for terrorists. Right now, Libya, nobody even knows Libya. Frankly, there is no Iraq and there is no Libya. It's all broken up. They have no control. Nobody knows what's going on.
The world would be better off with Saddam Hussein
100%.
And Gaddafi in power?
100%. Now, as far as Assad is concerned.
What about the human rights abuses?
Let's talk, well, you don't think they're happening now? They're worse now than they ever were. People are getting their heads chopped off. They're being drowned. Right now, they're far worse than they were ever under Saddam Hussein or Gaddafi. I mean, look what happened. Libya is a catastrophe. You look at our ambassador as an example, okay? Libya is a disaster. Iraq is a disaster. Syria is a disaster. The whole Middle East. And it all blew up around Hillary Clinton and around Barack Obama. It all blew up.
That was a great way to end it.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.